Oh boy. Forgot we're doing Russian apologia today. One of the popular Russian dog whistles. I don't know how to get over all this shit. One of the things I was speaking to a friend last night is that all of the messaging on everything now is like you have to be aware of all the things that are being said and intimately aware of all of the topics, or else you can't identify what people are hinting at. And this came up about RFK Jr. Because when an ordinary person hears somebody say, oh, for vaccines, like, I mean, I think they're good. I just want to research them. I just think we need to follow the science on that. I think we need to research their safety. Like, to an ordinary person who doesn't know anything, that sounds good. Yeah, we should. Yeah, that sounds good, right? And it's like, hold on. If somebody's talking about vaccines and saying this, they're just anti-vax. That's what that means. You're not, but you don't, but like, you sound crazy saying that. You sound like an insane person. Well, what's wrong with following the research and being, this person doesn't follow the research? Do you think these things are not researched? Do you think we have never done? Do you know what the FDA is, or do you know the history of vaccines at all? Or like, it's just like nobody. But you have to be so in the zone and like in these worlds to even understand the dog whistles. And then if you try to just call out the dog whistle, you sound crazy because you're disagreeing with things that you can't disagree with. And the neo-Nazi stuff is the same. Everything that we're probably about to hear from Tucker Carlson is going to be the same. This Russian talking point is Zelensky is bad because he's not democratic, because they suspended elections, because he's the real dictator. The reality is that one, Zelensky was elected initially, and two, by Ukrainian law, they don't hold elections during war. They just don't do it. So he's not a dictator. They're literally following the law of the country. And Putin is not somebody who is like martial lawing his way into dictatorship. He just is a dictator. He always has been. It's just fucking, well, as long as he's been in leadership. So this is a stupid fucking comparison.
Because Zelensky's obviously not elected either.
Yeah,
So I'm just trying to.
He shouldn't even agree. Well, maybe he's about to disagree with that. This is ever since I learned about these, I see this happening so much more as well. It's hard to understand this because it's like you feel like something is wrong, but you can't say what's wrong because it's just hard to put into words what's happening. That when we talk to people, there are these like maxims of conversation that have to exist. All four of these have to exist. Otherwise, you cannot communicate with another human being, right? So I think what these have to do with is the idea that when you're communicating with somebody else with language, both of you are making an effort to understand each other. You have to be. Because, so for instance, when you're having a conversation, these are the, I think, four maxims that, what was this, Grice? I don't know, some language theorist guy identified, or girl maybe. Quantity, where one tries to be as informative as one possibly can and gives as much information as is needed and no more, right? So what this means is that, like, if somebody says like, oh, like, what did you do today? And you were like, oh, I went to work and then I stopped by Burger King and then I came home, right? Well, is that a lie? You did way more than that today. Or what if the person like rushes over to you and starts doing CPR and then calls 911? It's like, well, you didn't say that you let your heart beat today, or that you were breathing today, or you didn't say that you used the bathroom at all today. So you're holding in your pee and poop all day. Are you going to explain? Like, no, hold on. There's only a certain amount of, like, you only need as much information as to answer the question of what I understand it is that you're asking, right? Or quality, where one tries to be truthful and does not give information that is false or that is not supported by evidence. I think quality has to do with like, if somebody says, oh, did you play basketball today? And you're like, oh yeah, I played basketball with some friends. And in reality, you know, you went home and you like played one game of NBA Jam or something. It's like, well, that's not what we're talking about. I think is quality. Relation, where one tries to be relevant and says things that are pertinent to the discussion. So if somebody says like, oh, like, what did you study in school? And a guy's like, oh, I read all the guides on 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons. So it's like, that's not what we're asking. Manner, when one tries to be as clear, as brief, and as orderly as one can in what one says, and where one avoids obscurity and ambiguity. All of these like maxims are important, and everybody is following these at all points in time, because otherwise like language would be meaningless. But I noticed in a lot of these like bad faith conversations, somebody is like deliberately breaking a maxim, and I don't know if they're aware of it, like consciously that they're breaking a maxim, or if they're just doing it as like a bad faith technique. But this thing of like, oh, both of them aren't elected, right? When we say elected, like, what does that actually mean? I don't know if this would be quality or manner. Like, we're not talking about the same thing here, but you're pretending it is, but that's not true. They're breaking like this cooperative principle of conversation in order to further this. And you could probably tie this into a bunch of fallacious logic and sophistry and all that bullshit as well. But
maybe he's a better guy than Putin or whatever, and you could say some things about one or nothing, but like if we're just going to define dictator, the first feature of a dictator is he's not elected. So Zelensky's not elected. He's also
like, because if this is a real conversation, and also Zelensky was elected, so I don't know why I keep saying that. If this is a real conversation and they were really having a back and forth, and because what Tucker Carlson is doing right now, and this is all, there's so many levels to this. No, there's not that many. There's like 2 or 3. But like what Tucker Carlson is doing is he's giving the appearance of being a good faith interlocutor. Oh, let me understand your definitions. But he's not actually trying to understand the definitions. He's trying to trap them in the definitions. That's what he's doing. Like, oh, okay, well, what's a dictator? And I'm looking for a definition that I know isn't going to include, or will also include Zelensky. But like, if he's being good faith, we would obviously say there's probably a difference in quality of a guy who's not elected during a time of war, when the country's laws allow for him to be there during a time of war, versus a guy who just like rigs his elections. This is very clearly, these are 2 different things, but he's pretending it's the same. So, rules in our country. Destiny, the U.S. had elections during the Civil War, but you can actually argue that was less democratic than postponing the election. Like half the country wasn't part of the presidential election. It was probably the right thing to do, but still. Wasn't there, I don't remember, but I thought there was, Jesus, was it for Ulysses S. Grant? Wasn't there a really fucked election where like the electors were actually being like straight out fucking rigged? Like it was fucked. I thought this is where the Electoral Count Act came from, was because the election was so fucked. Was it Hayes? Oh, maybe it was Hayes. I don't remember. Like our country was super fucked in terms of how this election went down. And I think it spawned the Electoral Count Act afterwards. I don't remember the reasons why or everything, but Hayes in 1876. Okay. This was the Compromise of 1877, or the Corrupt Bargain, was an unwritten political deal in the U.S. to settle the intense dispute over the results of the 1876 presidential election, ending the filibuster of the certified results and the threat of political violence in exchange for an end to federal reconstruction. No written evidence of such a deal exists, and its precise details are a matter of historical debate, but most historians agree that the federal government adopted a policy of leniency towards the South to ensure federal authority in Republican Rutherford B. Hayes' election as president. The existence of an informal agreement to secure Hayes' political authority, known as the Bargain of 1877, was long accepted as part of American history. Its supposed terms were reviewed by historian C. Van Woodward in his 51 book, Reunion and Reaction, The Compromise of 1877, and the End of Reconstruction. Under the compromise, Democrats controlling the House of Representatives allowed the decision of the Electoral Commission to take effect, securing political legitimacy for Hayes' legal authority as president. The subsequent withdrawal of the last federal troops from the southern United States effectively ended the Reconstruction era and forfeited the Republican claims to the state governments in South Carolina, Florida, and Louisiana. The outgoing president, Republican Ulysses S. Grant, removed the soldiers from Florida, and as president, Hayes removed the remaining troops from South Carolina, Louisiana. I don't know, this was like really fucked, but...
matter. Let's keep for action safe today. Liberty safe, made in America.
Okay, do you accept that?
I think it's true of, look, I'm not an expert. I've interviewed Putin. You know, I've been there.
Am I tripping? Where was this widespread discussion about Ukraine joining NATO before the war? There was. This is all just a bullshit. There was none. Like the genesis of this war and all of this is very, very simple and very easy to follow and very, very true. Like it's all like nobody disputes. Like in 2014, Yanukovych was ousted in Ukraine and he fled. Russia invaded Crimea as a response to that. Nothing about NATO, nothing about NATO expansion. It was because of Yanukovych getting ousted that Russia invaded Crimea. They took it over, and then they upped their military adventures in the Donbass. And then that has just escalated year after year after year after year until finally in 2022, right? 2021, 2022, it exploded into a full-on, like, well, limited military, what do they call it? Special military operation? 2022, yeah, okay. So did you just not say anything to that? Wait.
Where their fleet is based. They had a referendum in Crimea. The people of Crimea are Russian and want to remain part of the Russian.
That was all, by the way, that was held under like threat of, this is a bullshit election I use referencing, but no, you can't, that's not the question. The question is, should people be allowed to just arbitrarily secede from parts of countries? No, that's not how this works. Should your neighborhood be allowed to secede from your country or your state or your city? Should your city be allowed to? No, you don't have the right to do this.
Yes. Okay. So the people of Crimea voted overwhelmingly to align with the Russian government. So that's illegitimate.
That was after they were already fucking invaded, dude. What the fuck?
Government.
Like that should like, oh, I can't. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. this fucking Russian stooge just implied that the elections that happened in Crimea after the Russian invasion were more legitimate than the 2020 US elections. Like, he should just be I can't. I'm going to get banned. If I keep watching this, I will get banned. I don't think I can handle it. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. Zelensky's getting rich from the war. Should NATO be abolished? Should the US send money to Israel? The morality of nuclear war. The killing of Christians around the world.
And I'm just
like, who votes 97% on anything? Like how could you not know that that's whoever? I don't know if we could vote on literally anything. Should the United States fucking outlaw oxygen? I feel like even that you'd have like 5% of people would vote, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. They should. Fuck this place. Like 97%. And he's like, yeah, that sounds right.
democracy. They don't have it in Ukraine because they haven't had an election. They ignore the election because it's run by a dictator called Zelensky. If you want to just say he's a dictator.
Like, why can't Piers bring up the fact that it is banned for them to have elections during times of war? That's literally it's part of the, I don't know if it's Constitution or their parliament passed the thing, but like they can't do it. Does Piers just not know the answer to this? He hasn't said anything? Does he ever? Or
kills his opponent.
Talking point, him and his wife shopping for fucking Prada or whatever because he's gotten so rich and he's stealing money from USAID. Why do you think people like Tucker become stooges for Russia? I don't know, bro. I don't know anything right now. I don't know. I don't have like a theory of mind for these people. It can't be money. Maybe. I don't think so. Could it be ideology? Maybe. I truly don't know. I hope like in 20 years there's some retrospective and these guys come out and talk about how they got so brainwashed or intentionally just, I don't know.
I mean, if all comparisons are to Putin, then all bets are off.
Putin's financially raped and pillaged his country for...
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Like, he knows for sure, absolutely, that Zelensky is engaged in bad conduct, that Zelensky's done all these horrible authoritarian things. He won't own a single bad thing about Putin. Why? Like, every single time Piers brings up, well, Putin is a dictator, or Putin has raped and pillaged his country economically. Oh, maybe, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Like, I do this. It's not illegal to speak Russian.
Did you say any of that to Putin?
Of course not.
Why not?
Because I'm not...
Because I'm not what? Because the U.S. doesn't support Russia. They are invading Europe. Oh, I like how he clarifies. He says Western Europe. Okay, good one, Chief.
How's that worked? To keep peace. We now have the...
How's that work compared to the past 500 years of European history? Seems like it's worked pretty well.
Bloodiest war in 80 years in the middle of Europe because of NATO. So how's...
Because of NATO? Because of the country that's not in NATO? He's not going to respond to that. I can't, dude. Okay, at 30, I'm cutting this. I can't do anymore. 30, I will cut this. We got 3 minutes and 40 seconds more. Doesn't respond. That people can join NATO and not have military stuff there. I'm pretty sure that was the arrangement with East Germany or whatever that we were speaking about. Is that like, okay, well, if East Germany, if we do reunification, we won't put like missiles, we won't do anything with East Germany. We promise. Like that was, by the way, the 1-inch eastward comment that the military expansions or armaments won't go into East Germany if we do reunification. Like that was what they were discussing. But okay. Because I believe there have been 2 NATO, I think is it 2 NATO missions without, technically, I don't know if there was ever an Article 5 trigger. The NATO intervention in Yugoslavia, though, had to do with the Albanians, right? Being ethnically cleansed. And then I think Libya was a NATO mission, right? That wasn't UN, I think that was NATO. But usually it's in response to like ethnic cleansings or genocides that are ongoing. So, but I don't think Piers knows the answer to this, but. Did he really just say that? You really think that Britain would just surrender? Or what is he? How many Brits died between World War II and World War I? Almost 500,000 and. Wait, UK casualties. Like 5 people. Thank you, guys. He's saying this because he would surrender the U.S.? I don't know. Over 1 million British military personnel died during the First and Second World Wars, with the First World War alone accounting for 886,000 fatalities. God damn.
I think you would do that. I think you'd be like...
Is he talking about immigration now? Wait, is that what he just... Wait, did we just pivot to that? like 2 high schoolers or grade schoolers or like 2 like 8-year-olds that are just given like a 1-hour crash course on Ukraine, Russia would be able to have a conversation with more depth than this. This is like, this is just like, it's wild. I don't know, man. This is just so wild. I don't know. This is just fucking retarded. I don't know what else to say. This is fucking retarded. I can't. This is like, this is an insanely stupid conversation. Okay. Listen, we are going to fucking work through these goddamn